is Isaac Kraus, talking to you from Shareworld's main office, where dreams are built. Today I'm making this video because I have an idea. This morning, when I was taking my son who has autism to the school, I was thinking if there is a way to help him by understanding him a little bit more, by tracking things that make him feel upset. I thought that probably an app that can help tracking these different moods that he has during the path to the school. For example, when getting into the car, when waiting in the door, when the teachers take him to the classroom, uh, some measures could be done and have a couple criteria to evaluate, like if something said become a trigger, or the clothes or the noise, or even maybe the breakfast, something that could help to understand what are these most frequent triggers that affect his mood and therefore ability to interact better with the people in the school, including teachers and classmates. Because you should know, with kids in this condition, is sometimes difficult to engage properly, especially if there are things making them feel uncomfortable. Therefore, I want to try to get some statistical information that can help us take decisions and give him a better life quality. Let's see this idea in action. Okay, let's get started. First of all, let's create a Canvas app from scratch. So let's hit create. All right, I'm going to call this the mood tracker. And the idea is that I have this on my cell phone, so phone layout. Okay, excellent. Let's zoom in a little bit. All right. We will require some data structure to support all of this, but I want to start from the user interface to have a clear idea of what is the goal first. So what I want is a set of questions to evaluate and some possible answers. For each question, I have a rating of the mood that it had at that moment. So I want to first visualize the mood tracker itself, how it will look. For that, I'm going to insert a medium image control here. And I have previously downloaded a set of happy and sad faces that we can use to track this. So look at that. Have the happy face. All right. Not really going to make it perfect at this moment. Just want to visualize them all. All right. Let's add the other faces here. Wait a second. Okay, so let's go. Yeah, good on the right. Very happy on the right. All right, now here, the not so happy. Here is the upset one. And here is the very opposite. Okay, perfect. That gives us a very good idea of what is the objective. Now, I want to, let's put this inside a container so we don't struggle moving it around. This is a very good object, a very handy object for this kind of situations. Control X, Control V. There we go. Just want to center them. Excellent. Now I can move this around together, no problem. Right, but that's not the only thing. How this is going to look with the questions. Let's add a label to get an idea of that. So at the very top, we are going to have this question here. So let's write one question that says, okay, so we are adding a question here that says, well, not really a question, just a topic. Mood in during breakfast. Yes, excellent. I think this is going to give a very good idea of what we are looking for. Now let's copy all of this to understand what we want. And here we can say car or while getting into the car. This might seem a little trivial, but in reality it is a significant moment. Another one is during the way to the school. And okay, maybe this is excessive. A lot of questions for a single day. We will see what is more efficient later with actual usage and proper feedback. And in this case, I'm going to be the user or my wife, so we are the ones who will provide such feedback. But for now, I'm just going to add as many questions as I can think of to not limit it yet. So, waiting at at the school's door. Let's push all of this. Come on. There we go. I think I really have to improve the user interface, but we can do that in a moment. There we go. So, final question here. Well, Um, walking. Okay. And well, at this moment, these are the only things that I should be aware of. Of course, there will be other things that teachers could tell, like what happened in the classroom, etc. But at this moment, I think this is most practical from my perspective. Still think there are a lot of questions, but we can reduce them later. So, this is really giving us a very good idea of what we are going to track. Probably here a little button to add comments if any of these needs to be more specific, not just the mood. And actually, there is something that I noticed right away that we are missing, like a choice value that can tell us what could be the trigger or what we suspect is the trigger. Um, for that, probably could have something like a little drop down on the corner or at the bottom. We will organize that in a moment. But the idea is that it has something like this. Uh, for example, food, uh, mm, comments, something that was said, um, clothes, um, a person, with the understanding that that means a person being there or not being there, and well, could be other things like that. What is the point of this? Well, they have something to create measures around, because it's not just knowing that the mood was good or bad at that moment, but some thing to give a clue of why. And from here we can start creating some actual functional or uh, usable information. Okay, well, at, at the end, this is not really going to be just an app by adding random things directly. We want to pull these questions from a data structure as well as saving them there. But I just wanted to show you this first so you have an idea of what is the goal. Now that we have seen this proof of concept, or let's say uh, prototype of this design, I think we are in a good position to jump into the data structure building. Let's save this before we go anywhere else. Okay, it's saved. Just going to create the first version. Should be done already. All right, now it's time to go to SharePoint. Okay, we are in SharePoint site now. I previously created this site called a happy site to contain the data sources that we will need for this project. Let's go to the site content and create a couple lists. First, we need a list on which we are going to define the questions, and then we are going to have another list for the submissions. Let's define the questions first. Um, questions is not a good way to call this, so how about um, evaluation targets, probably? Mm, something like that. Best practice, I prefer to name them without a space and rename them later. So let's proceed. And now that is created and the URL has a very nice address, I click on the name and put this space. Excellent. All right, so the title itself will be that target we want to evaluate. For example, let's say this is breakfast, and then um, getting into the car, um, pet to school, and what was the other one? Waiting. Uh, School's door. Finally, walking to classroom. There it is. Those are the 5 targets to evaluate. And now I can establish the potential issues that each one could have. So for that, let's first of all exit grid view, and now it's a column. This is interesting because could use a repeated criteria, like on all of them the same questions over and over, or add separate fields for each. I typically don't want to use multi-choice for things like this. However, I have the feeling that at this moment it could work. Anyway, it's just um, a project that has been in my head this morning, very recently, very new, so no need to worry a lot about those details yet. We can always go back and modify the architecture to make it better. So let's um, call this one triggers, and no, allow multiple selections. Yes. Okay, now let's establish each of these potential triggers. So the first trigger, what did we say here? Okay, food, comments, clothes, person, other. Okay, let's put the same. Food, uh, comments. Okay, so common, clothes, person, other. Okay, because this is going to be for many situations. For example, one given situation could be 3, another one could be 4, 5. I think I will put more. For example, in the car, I know it could be the music. And in the okay, okay. So in some of these cases, could be the street noise. And okay, let's leave it there. What happened? Oh, this is glitching. There it is. Other. Yeah, that's enough. No default values, and we conclude. All right. Excellent. Something that we could also do is have an extra column to say if this is enabled or not. Probably I want to disable some of these and no longer use those criteria. So active, default, yes. Okay, I think that's more than enough. Let's set them all to active. And as triggers during the breakfast, I know it could be the food, could be comments, could be clothes, could be person. Seems we still have a little glitch there. Let's try to fix it. There we go. Other. Perfect. Okay, getting into the car. Could be a comment. It could be clothes, street noise, and other. Okay. Bad to school. Right, could be a comment. Could be the clothes. Could be a person. Could be music. Could be street noise. Could be other. Okay. A comment. Again, the clothes, person, street noise, and other. And the walk into classroom, comment. Very unlikely that the clothes are a problem at this moment, so I will omit that, even not impossible, just for the sake of simplicity, not to saturate this with unnecessary choices. But certainly a person could be. At this moment it's not really street noise, but I just noticed that I forgot an important thing, which is in reality the school noise. Or let's call this people noise. Which is different from comment and person. First of all, comment is something specific being said, like um, um, today is cold, and boom, that triggers an issue. And a person could be someone that is supposed to be there but is not, or the other way around, something that is not supposed to be there and then it's uncomfortable for the kid. Uh, Whereas the people noise will be just random noise on the background, classmates talking, an event taking place on the school, etc. All right. So I guess we have the evaluation targets correctly defined, the potential triggers to evaluate. Everything looks fine. It's time to create the list where we are going to save the submissions. Mhm. How we call this? Mood submissions, evaluation submission, daily, daily submissions for simplicity. Okay, same as before, we rename it after the creation. All right, here I don't really need the title. Maybe I will find a purpose for it later, or could be even the comments that we mentioned before. But for now, I want to make it not required to avoid issues. Let's take a look. Oh, look at that. It's not required. That's nice from Microsoft. All right. Right then, so what we need is which evaluation target is being evaluated. So for that we have two options. One is simply a text column with the name of the evaluation, and another one is to create a lookup that will connect them. And now, if the name is going to be the same all the time and not expect to change it, a text column should be fine. Whereas if you think you could change the evaluation name, the target name, probably a lookup column will be better. The little challenge with lookup columns is that they are not very easy to filter in Power Apps, in the Canvas app, due to delegation issues that we have by using SharePoint as a data source. Um, you can find more about this topic online. There's plenty of sources, but if you are interested in digging deeper on that topic here, please try to leave a comment or reach us. Okay, so let's take a look at the scenario one. Um, let's just call it target, like that, just a single line of text. And the other possibility, well, as I said, is the lookup column like this. I'm not going to create this. I'm just going to use the text field for now for simplicity, but still going to show you what steps to follow in case you want to use a lookup. It will be basically the same name, or you want to name it differently, like lookup could be. You select the evaluation targets, the title, which is the name of the target to use, and save. That will connect them both. For now, we're going to stay with the text field. And now we need the evaluation. We could write specific values like if he's happy, not happy, etc. As text values. However, I have the feeling that it is going to be better for the dashboards that I have in my mind, this statistical information, etc., to use numbers like a rate from 1 to 5 that will allow to better dashboard, better charts information. So let's use a number column and let's just call it, how we call it? Rating? No. This is interesting because I don't want to use a word that feels a little bad in terms of what we are doing here, but uh, let's simply call it mood level. Yeah, I think that will be a little bit a friendlier name for this situation. Automatic, but we don't really want any decimals. Still don't want to mess with that here. However, I do want to restrict because it should be between 1 and 5, nothing more. Oh, let's disable that. Okay, there is a lot of things that we could make them require in order to force the record to evaluate if those are there before saving it. But I prefer to leave that on a later stage once we have more progress with the app. So not going to enable any of these settings. Okay, notice that I'm naming the column in a single word, no spaces, to follow the best practices for development. Hitting save. After it's created, I go back, column settings, edit, and now I put the space. Okay, this might not be necessary with the modern version, especially if you create your columns from here, but because it could be that you are using the classic view or the list settings view, it's good to get used to do this. Name it with no space at the beginning and then add your spaces later. Notice that this the modern feature is not going to help with the special characters like underscore, dollar symbol, hashtag. So it's going to be better to write it in a simple no space name, no special characters, and then rename it even if you are doing from this interface. All right. Um, okay, now we need the criteria that they selected. Even that in the evaluation targets, these triggers are multi-choice. This is just to establish the option set that the user can select, but in the submission is only one that they are going to select. However, I don't want people to be choosing those values from here. So not really going to be a choice column, just a text field. I don't plan to define the values at this level. Therefore, text is fine. Let's call it trigger. Now, what I'm going to do is to add the comments column in case there is any. Multi-line of text, comments, no value, no rich text, just simple text, and hit save. Okay, we are ready. Uh, well, as I said, we don't really have a purpose for title, so probably we can hide it at this moment. It's a good idea to give it a purpose because it's the only one that has the additional icons and the clickable behavior. But if you don't really have any purpose, just click on check and apply to hide it. One more thing that could be necessary is to see at what moment this was created, because remember, this is to evaluate based on dates on a daily basis. And we are not going to create a column for that. There is already some existing columns. For example, the created date here. And that will be more than enough to tell us when it was created and do the proper filtering, etc. that we need for the dashboard and the other operations that we are going to use. All right, so it seems that our data source is ready. Let's take one more look here. Yeah, we have everything we need. Let's bring the values from here into the app to render the content that we need. Okay, well, because these things are going to be pulled from SharePoint, we don't really need to have all of those repeated elements anymore. So we can just get rid of them like that. Okay, so continue the deletion here. Let's see, yep, nothing there. All right, so for this purpose, of course, we need to connect to SharePoint first of all. We search by writing SharePoint. There it is. There is an existing connection. All right, let's copy the address for the happy site. Search it here. There it is. Now we put the two lists that we are going to use. Okay, excellent. I have my two list right there. Something that I like to do as soon as I connect the data source, maybe not something that intuitive if you are starting with the Power Apps, but once you have done a couple, something that is very good to do when you already know what you're doing, it's right after mapping the data source, go to the app level, on start, and add the refresh event that will ensure you have your data up to date when the app opens. There is of course, there is other methods to refresh the data. Some people put a manual refresh icon here. Also, you can have a loading screen and where you do other calculations after refreshing. But here, for simplicity, we're going to put it on the on start event like this. There is one little catch with this. you could, for example, write it in this way, but for refreshing, if the list is small, this won't look like a problem. But the more this list grows, and of course there will be a lot of items on those to load, and will uh, take longer to finish this process. So instead of making them sequential, what I recommend is to use a concurrent function at this level. Just notice that we need to replace the semicolon with a comma. Okay, the concurrent function needs to have at least two parameters. Of course, if it's only one refresh, you don't need to use concurrent. One other thing is that concurrent will execute things in parallel, so it might be very tempting to use this for a lot of other situations, but please don't think before doing that, and use it with caution only when it's absolutely necessary. Otherwise, it could create unnecessary complexity for your code. All right. By the way, if you want to execute the onStart without reopening the app, you can use these three dots and hit here, run and start. That will make this function run in case you want to test it. Another thing that could be very useful is to have, for example, information about who is the user that opened the app. Like this, I can create a variable, call it by user, and then the function user like this, and then consume the information with the variable. Some people will say, hey, why not just to use the function in any place where you want it? Why to create a variable? It's unnecessary. Well, it might seem like that, but the problem is that every time you run this, you're basically executing a query to the system asking for that information again and again and again. And the reality is that you only need to ask for that information once when the app opens, because the user is not going to change unless you close the app or open with different credentials. So it's a very bad practice to execute a function that is pulling the same information over and over. Better to freeze that data in a variable like this. All right, we will see how to use that in a moment, but for now let's just run it so we can see that information. Having problems with the shift control today. There it is, the shift key. Okay, so for example, we can put a little label on the top, align it to the right. It says welcome, and they add my name, full name. Look at that. Well, maybe not long enough. Okay. Huh. I forgot that I put a very long username here. Okay, no problem. Let's just leave it like that. Unfortunately, here we don't have the last name, first name in a separate way, but we can get that information to make it shorter very easily by adding the user connection for 365 like this. Now in my onStart event, after the set var user, I'm going to put another set. And notice that I'm using semicolon here because I want these two to execute in sequence. Let's call this one user profile. And then Office 365 users dot. Well, in reality, they don't need to be executed in sequence because there is a direct function that will get the current user information too, like this. So maybe I can put a comma here and just move on. But sometimes, let's say you want to get information of a manager. So of course you want to get the current user first and then get the manager information after. But at this moment, this should be sufficient. Again, let's run the on start. Go back to this label. Come on. Okay, there we go. That reads a lot nicer. So this size is good. All right, enough of additional topics. Let's focus on the objective. Okay, so for the question, I will insert a gallery. Let's just bring this up again and insert a gallery, but I want it to be blank because this one contains some elements that could be worse to remove or make it harder. Look at this. Let's say I delete this um, or this. Things can get broken like that. So I don't like to fix things that should not be fixed on the first place. So let's search for a blank vertical gallery. There it is. This is already empty. Let's make it very long. Okay. I'm going to increase it to the top in a moment. At this moment, I just want to identify the area where I'm going to work, which it's right here. Notice that I don't click here the text because I want to keep the view on my tree view here. If you click on that purple text, it switches to the insert menu, which I don't like. So notice the difference. This is a big gallery, the complete body of the gallery, and this is the specific row or cell where we are going to put the main elements. All right, so we already have those elements above. However, let's make the connection first. So here, let's write evaluation targets. Okay, it's connected. You can also notice that on the right side. You can see that there is a fields setting here, but doesn't have anything. Why? Because you need to establish these placeholders where you're going to put that data. Okay, so sometimes get a little buggy with the interface. I cannot really see the top. So let's see if no, it's giving me problems. I have to reload this. So let's hit save and reload. So always save your app before doing a full page reload. Um, Otherwise you will lose your changes. I don't like to do that unless it's absolutely necessary. And the main reason is because it can sometimes take longer than the first time to open. Alright, it says it's in read-only mode, and because it thinks I still have it open, but we know that's not true, so I'm simply going to hit override, and now I'm in edit mode. Alright, you can see that I can see the top part of the app in a good way now. Scroll bar seems to be working good. Let's copy each element. I'm going to copy. Now let's bring them all. Yeah, why not? Unless we have problems with this shift. Fantastic. Okay, let's do it like this. You see, there is always more than one way to do the same thing. So in the tree view, I was able to select them all successfully. Let's cut and now position on the first cell. Notice is the first row, not the entire gallery. And here I do the paste. Look at that. Now it's rendering a lot of times for all the items that I have. However, those are the values that I wrote directly in these elements before, not the actual questions that are in SharePoint. Before changing the values, let's adjust the gallery by making it start from the top. Also, let's rename it. Very important to rename your elements in the left, starting with the screen. Let's call this screen the target evaluation screen. Okay. All right, and the gallery, it's the um, targets gallery. Okay. All right. Now let's modify this. I'm going to take it to the top to use the space in a more efficient way. Okay, and let's continue with this item and also this item here. Okay, now what we have to do is reduce this height of the cell to make them be closer. Okay, excellent. All right, now let's adjust the values. First of all, here we have the text property somewhere. There it is. Let's take it out and write this item. This item means the current row where we are and base it on the values that we use as the source for this gallery. In this case, the evaluation targets. So we want to pull the name or the title. Look at that. Now it says breakfast, getting to the car, back to school, etc. We can also change it to be more outstanding, like the semi-bold, and increasing the font size if necessary. Super big, make smaller. Okay. All right. 23. Okay, that works. Excellent. And in a similar fashion, now we need to work with the choices for here. I might need to pull data from this dropdown later, so let's rename it to, if not, still a good idea to do it. So triggers dropdown, that will be the name. Notice that I'm keeping the kind of control at the end of each name to differentiate, because all of them can appear on the formulas. For example, if I write target, look that it says target evaluation screen, targets gallery, etc. So the last word can help me to differentiate. You don't need to use the full control name, you can use an abbreviation or something that works. Okay, let's clean this. We are not really going to modify this property. The one we want is items. Okay, here they are. Let's delete all of this and write this item dot triggers. All right, let's check. It's still not render. Oh, maybe yes. Let me check. Oh, yes, because they are different for each one. Yeah, almost forgot that. Perfect, it's working. Um, Not so sure if we should have a default value. Let's see if we can clean that. In theory, there is a setting here that we can enable to allow blank values. Mm, okay, there we go. Perfect. Let's move it a little bit to the right, to the left. Perfect. Lastly, the right. Okay, here is very interesting. I can leave it as a container like this, literally, or I could insert a gallery as a sub gallery to have uh, different cells for each value that I want to select. Either way should be fine. Now here for the sake of making it more no, I have an idea, a better idea. Let's use a slider on the top of this. Yes. So the faces, we are going to leave them simply as a background, but the actual control that will do the trick will be a slider. Okay, first we need to select the cell. Come on. I can put it inside the container itself. No problem. Actually, could be helpful to move them around. So, slider. Yep, exactly like that. Let's ensure it's the same size as the little faces right there. Excellent. Now, I'm going to establish maximum and minimum. Minimum 1, maximum 5. Default value 3. Perfect. Looking good. Let's see if this little circle can move to the sides where we need it. Okay, the click is not perfect. It's going to move it into strange positions. Okay, there was a problem with a lot of actions that I did, and the topic, the take was messed up. So I'm going to recap very briefly the little differences or the things that were applied. So the first thing to notice is that I adjusted this section here by reducing the size of the slider and making it a little more accurate in terms of the clicks, not super accurate, but a little bit. Also notice that I make it transparent, so you don't notice when the where the circle or the line is still selecting things. Now you might notice that I also added this background purple circle, and that was done by inserting literal circle from the insert menu like that. The only special thing that this circle has is that I make the fill color transparent, also increase the size of the thickness of the border, make it purple, and finally well, of course I duplicated here many times behind each face, as you can see here. But another thing that is important is that you should see that I connect that circle with the slider here to make it visible or not, depending on the value of this slider. You can check that each line is responding to its own clicks, not having the same values. So that's good. the selection is still a little glitchy, but that's the fault of the slider. Maybe in a new version we can try something different to make it even more accurate, but this should work for now. Also, I added these buttons to go back. I created this home screen. This was not there before. At the moment, the previous submissions is not going to do anything. We are not going to set that screen on this version. Only the new submission, which take us to the screen that I have named as target evaluation screen. Okay, so the cancel is simply taking us back here. There we go. All right. Also, I added a success screen here, which is just a template. I find it here from the new screen templates. Here you can see success. Look at that. This is a brand new screen. It already has that message, everything that I need. So you can see that the only difference is that I added a button to go back. Here you can see the navigate. It takes the user back to home screen. So let me delete this one. All right. Okay, so how we get into the success screen. All right, so on the target evaluation screen, I have this submit button, which has a very interesting formula. There is a for all function that will help us to iterate all the elements on this gallery through the property all items. Also, you can notice we have a patch function will save the information into SharePoint. Patch function usually has 3 parameters, but well, the first one is always the data source where you want to save the data, and the third one is always the information that you want to save. However, the second one, this middle parameter, is different depending if you want to do a saving operation or a creation or an update of an existing item. If you are updating, you need to put a lookup function here or something else to find that existing element. But in this case, I want to create every time they hit submit. Therefore, I only need to use the defaults function, which basically means a new item with default values. Here you can notice that I put the 3 main columns that we have in the daily submissions: target, mood level, trigger. I didn't put the comments because I'm not saving comments yet. We might do that in a next iteration. For now, let's just see what is going on. By the way, you can notice that I'm doing the navigate right after we finish the patching of the 5 targets, but this is not the correct way to do it. In a real scenario, you always need to check for errors um, uh, before going to the success, because a patch, even though the code might be well written, you can have a network error or something else, and especially during iterations, maybe uh, 2 of the patches worked good, but 3 of them failed. So you need to have procedures to capture those errors. I normally use collections when dealing with this situation, but we can see that situation in another version of this app. So for now, let's simply assume that the patch is going to work and see what happens. I'm clicking play button. Let's select a couple things here. Okay, here notice that I'm selecting that he was a little upset, and I'm saying that the problem was the food in the breakfast. Getting into the car, I'm going to say that very upset, but because the clothes probably, and the path to school, maybe a little upset, but because the music. Waiting on the school door, I'm going to say that it was no problem, so leaving empty. And finally, walking to classroom, very upset because people nice. Okay, let's hit submit and see what happens. Okay, we are in the success screen. Everything looks good. However, let's see what is going on the submissions. Here are some previous submissions there. So in reality, we should have 10 now. Let's see. All right, you can see below, these are the newest one. Let's put them at the very top. Filter by, no, sort by newer to older. There we go. Everything seems fine except with a little detail. The rating, the mood level is not getting through. So we need to figure out why is that happening. Also, notice that the values are not getting reset properly. Let's see what is going on. Something that could be causing this problem is the fact that we are doing an iteration over the gallery itself, and even though these objects are within that gallery and in reality and truly are part of each row and could be iterated, sometimes we have glitches like this that don't allow us to get the proper values. So one way to fix this is to add a collection in the background to capture the correct values, and when hitting the submit button you iterate the collection instead of the actual gallery. So let's do that and see if that helps to solve the problem. Okay, so how to create a collection? Well, that's something very easy that we can do. We can do it every time we open this screen or in a previous screen or wherever you want. At this moment, let's assume every time you open the screen, it's like a reset action. So we are going to work with the onVisible event and create our new collection right here. Clear collect is going to help us define a collection that is going to be created or reset every time this runs. That's why we clear and then collect the new values. Okay, let's call it collection target evaluation, comma, and now we need to put the values that we are going to use as the starting point. At this moment, what I want is to have a structure similar as the list from on which I want to submit this information. So what I'm going to do is simply use the defaults function that will help me to have those same columns. So defaults and then close parentheses, right, just like that. This is going to ensure this collection has exact same columns as the submission list. Let's take a look here on the left. You can go to the variable section and expand collections. There we have it. View table. Okay, it's not initialized. Let's ensure it gets initialized by going to a previous screen, then opening this, and now it should have something. There we go. Okay, so a lot of columns that might be unnecessary. We can also restrict the columns we want to copy to not bring more than needed by doing a little trick. Let's see that. So here, for example, we use select columns. Show columns. That's the one. Show columns. It got stuck a little bit. Okay. So I just added another parenthesis, and here in the show columns, we're going to put a comma. Okay. So you just need to write the name of the columns that we want to show. In this case, I want target. It could also be that it wants them in the quotes like that. Okay. Let's make this table because it's not going to like it just like that. It needs this parameter to be an array, and defaults is throwing, or is the output of defaults is a single record. Therefore, I had to add the square brackets to make it like an array or a table format, and then I can use this to pull the columns that I need. Next one is the mood level. I can see them now below. There it is. Next one is going to be the target. I have it already. Trigger. Trigger is what I want. Then comments, which at the moment we are not using, but it's still a good idea to have it already there. Okay, that will give us the structure that we need. There is a little problem. We need to clean this, clear it again. You will see why in a moment. Targets evaluation. The reason is because we need to iterate the gallery that has the question definitions. For that purpose, I'm going to copy this information, copy, and now I'm going to go back to this function and then do a for all, comma, let's put the closing parentheses, and here I'm going to patch the collection. All right. So, well, not really patch. I'm going to collect. It's going to create new rows on the collection that we have defined it, and going to set up the default values, which in this case is the target. Okay. All right. So let's put the curly brackets here. Target, and then this record. This record is the current item of the iteration, and that should be the target name, which also can be found as title because we are iterating the evaluation target and we have this column named as title. Okay, all right. This will create an initial collection that will have all the values and that we want to save. These ones will be empty. That's okay. We're going to collect only until the user has clicked something. There is only one little issue. This will be empty by default. However, the mood selection, we should have a default value, and I want to align everything to the center. So I think in reality it's going to be important to set that here also. Let's separate so we can see that clearer. Comma, mood level, and then the value is 3. All right, that should be enough. Okay. Excellent. Now let's connect the default values to with that same gallery. How we do that? Very easy. With a lookup, we pull the value from the collection by finding the target name equal to this item dot title, and the value we want is the trigger. So let's copy this first part and set it to the slider also, but it's going to be what level instead. Okay, we don't have the comment, so no need to set that one. All right, let's go to the home screen and test it again. There we go. There we go. Okay, the default value seems to be fine. Now it's time to save the changes when these two are modified. For that, we are going to do patch function on the onChange formula. COL target evaluation. The one we are going to update is lookup COL target evaluation, comma, target equals this item dot title, and the value we want to update is, let's put the closing brackets here. The value we want to update is the trigger. Okay, in this case is self dot selected dot value. All right, let's copy because we are going to need something similar for the slider. Let's go to the slider, go to the onChange event also, paste it here. However, in this case, what we want to modify is the mode level with the value. All right, so we have used this to update the mode level 2. So it's time to make a test. Something that we can do to validate that the collection is getting update is going to this section and analyzing the current values that the collection have. At this moment we can see that all of them are default. So in order to not have to use a play button, you can keep the Alt key pressed in your keyboard to cause the same effect of updates with the onChange functions. Let's try with the dropdown first. All right. Okay, there we go. Perfect. Now let's try another one, another one, another one, another one. Let's take a look. Perfect, it's responding. Now let's do the same with the mode level. So this, and this. Let's take a look. All right, seems to be changing. Okay, so looks that the collection we created is working as expected. Now it's time to fix the submit function. By the way, if we hit cancel, in theory everything should be reset. Look at that, values are empty and the default is 3. So let's say the food was a problem, getting into the car, let's say no problem, but to school, let's say was the music, let's say he was happy, and walking, let's say people nice. All right, those are the values we want to save. However, we need to modify this. We are no longer going to iterate the gallery. We are going to iterate the collection, and the target is going to be this record.target. The mode level is going to be this record.mode level, and the trigger is going to be this record.trigger. Excellent. Now we pull values from the collection instead of the gallery. Let's see how it goes. Let's save our changes, hit play, and submit. Okay, success screen. Let's go to daily submissions, newer to older. Okay, perfect. Now it's working. We have the values. And well, it seems that everything is fine. Let's remember that the higher the number is more positive. So 4 it means happy, so no trigger. And the 3 is the middle state, which also had no trigger. So everything seems to be working just fine. I think we are going to conclude here because this has been long enough already. But in a future version, we are going to see how to create the preview submission screen, and probably on a third delivery, we will see how to use all of that information for the creation of dashboards. Also, we mentioned that there could be some potential improvements here. For example, the addition of the comments field, just to highlight something important that might not be enough with this trigger dropdown. And I think that should be good enough for this little project. Okay, that was it. I hope you have enjoyed this development today. This was a very simple idea that I have, but in reality that have a very important meaning for me. So I had uh, I thought that it could be also a good idea to share this with others. I hope this can help people to find solutions to other needs that they have, not only related with business, but as you can see, it could also be related with your personal life or other things that could be potentially improved by the usage of this technology. Well, that's all for today, and until we see again. Thank you.